are the adults in the room? And the conversation we want to have today, a bit different. Some of us have been having conversations in our own corners. We've heard about it. Some of us are practicing it. And some of us just don't know or have information on it. Today we have a resident lawyer, not lawyer, advocate, pardon me, Mr. Eliud Ngugi. How are you?
I'm okay.
Karibu sana to the show.
Thank you.
How have you been?
I've been okay. I am currently in New York.
Oh!
Yes.
Why? Why are you in
He
New
was listening
York?
to the show.
No, but why? Those other guys were saying why. Why are you in New York? Because you're in SpiceFM.
Yes.
Kizungu,
Oh.
kizungu,
Kizungu,
mingi.
kizungu.
And then, so let's get back to English.
Yes.
And the conversation of the day is, what are the legal implications of taking or not taking your partner's name? What are the legal implications of taking or not taking your partner's name? I'd like you to opine on this conversation. If you have a query, if you have a question, send it through our WhatsApp line 01102888162, or you can also plug in through our social media handles, SpiceFM KE on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Now, let me just get to this question straight ahead, Eliud. In Kenya, many of us are sometimes very confused. Is it important, if I am married and legally married, to take my husband's name or not to take my husband's name? I know this is something that evolved in the 11th century from the French, and they brought it to the Englishman, and it became a common law, then it was put in a constitution. But times have changed. Between you and I, and you being an officer of the court, is it important for people who are married, especially the women, to take their husbands' names?
I want to answer my question and say it depends with your school of thought and where you are coming from.
Tell us why you say that.
The reason I give that answer is because there are various reasons and things that inform people's decisions. And some people are informed by morals, others are informed by their religion, and other people are informed by their status of love. And so legally there is no requirement for one to actually change their name, take their spouse's name.
It's not a legal requirement.
It is not a legal requirement.
So this is a personal thing that some of us have inflicted upon ourselves.
Yes.
So sio lazima.
Sio lazima.
She's so happy about that.
Unless now there are other situations that may force you to wish maybe you may have taken the name.
Yeah.
Let's say you're being or you're coming into the marriage as a second or third wife.
Okay.
This is through the customary law. And so if the person passes on and you need to go through the succession process, just for purposes of informing or trying to connect yourself to the deceased person who has died, the man who has died in that home, then probably if you come with a proof of a name, then it may ease up the case. It may add, it may help as part of the evidence to show that you are actually maybe married to this person.
Now, I have a lot of questions from your reply, but let me just take you back one step. Now, I am going to get married. I was married to Mr. Ngugi, and then Mr. Ngugi has decided to go and marry a second wife called Karigo. So Karigo wants to change her name. What is the process, or what does Karigo do? What is that process like for her changing? Because now she's the second wife. You've said for matters of changing, she's a second wife. She wasn't thinking of changing her name, but now that she's coming into this family of ours as a second wife, what does she need to do? Whether a second wife, whether a first wife, what is the process of changing your name, and what does it entail?
The process of changing my name is covered under the Registration of Documents Act.
Okay.
Whereby you have to swear a document called a deed poll. You have
what?
A deed poll.
Okay.
So in this deed poll, you have to say that you are formerly known as so-and-so, and you now want to be known as so-and-so. And this document has to be supported by an affidavit by a friend who has known you for more than 7 years.
And a friend?
Yeah.
Not a family member?
Not a family, someone who is not a family member.
Okay.
It's just a friend who has known you for more than 7 years. And with this document, you need to then register it. And once it's registered, then you need to take a gazette notice for gazette notification at the government printers.
Okay.
So that the government can say that the person known as Karigo
No, it's not Garigo G Gatere, it is Garigo G Ngugi.
Yes.
Shindo, eh?
So basically, that's what you need to do to change your name.
When you talk about it being gazetted, is this where many people say, I hear it will be advertised in the papers, or it's only the gazette notice?
It's just the gazette notice, not in the newspaper.
Not in the newspaper.
Yeah.
How much did this process cost?
It depends with...
No, I'm asking for these women who've been wanting to change their names.
The process depends on time. And yes, depends on the time.
So there's no stipulated figure, like maybe 200 shillings for this process, and then you wait, or it varies from because of the time? It
varies, but what I can give you, the price of changing, for example, the government printers, what you pay to the government is 3,420 shillings.
To change your name?
To actually, for them to gazette.
3,420.
Yes.
That's for the gazettement and not...
3,480.
Okay.
Yeah. For the government to actually gazette.
And now that means after that particular process, I need to change all my other documents. That is the KRA, PIN, NSSF, NHIF after that, or also I'll be required to go through other avenues to make those changes?
After that, we would be required, because the Kenya Gazette is basically published every Friday.
Yes.
You find that information either, most in Kenya, it's in kenyalaw.org, or you can go to the government printers along Haile Selassie Avenue in Nairobi and actually buy yourself a copy of a gazette notice at they sell it at 60 shillings.
Okay. Every Friday.
Every Friday. So if you pick that document, then you'll be able to present it now at Huduma Center, and they'll enforce the name on your ID, take it to KRA.
Also, they'll do it for you after that.
They'll do it after you present the gazette notice, the original gazette notice.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I want to ask, before I take this man's name, where does this practice come from? What is this whole system of women taking men's names? And give me when it first begins from, like, and what is the significance? And then why is it not the vice versa?
In Kenya, we follow the common law, which is the law we follow the British, because that's what the Queen's law, because we inherited their way of doing things after we were colonized, and so we took their practices, whereby the women in their practices in the 11th century would actually take the man's name to actually avoid taking of property. Or claiming, making any claims on property.
So that's why we are taking up their name, so that we don't claim any property of our own.
You are part of him.
Hey, no. Like, I could not get any property without his name.
Yes. No, you could actually, it was for fitting. It was for you to actually avoid taking property that belongs to your husband.
Okay, I get that.
So you'd actually take their name to actually not take any property. Yes.
You've gotten it.
It was an act of submission. So
forceful submission.
It was not forceful, because guys would actually go ahead and take their husband's name as a sign of submission, but I'm now married to this person.
They did not know better, but continue.
So women back then could not take passports or driver's license.
Wow.
And they could not vote back in the day, unless then they could adopt their husband's last name. So it was a precondition to also some of these other things, like driving license or voting. So you needed to actually take your husband's name. And so that over time has changed.
Yes.
And so what has been left is it has become a practice, because when you look at when you compare the different countries, and you look at, for example, the UK, the Americans, and Kenya, the three of them, you will find that the British has the highest number of people who actually take up their wives' names. So 90%
wives
of
or
the women,
husbands?
Or husband's name.
Yes.
Okay.
When it comes to husband, you have actually asked, there's 3% of men in the world actually tend to take their wives' names.
In Kenya?
Yes.
In Kenya, I know of a few people who have actually taken their
And why
wife's
have
names.
they done that? I'm curious.
Is it because of status and the nature of which the name of their wife carries?
Yeah.
Or their family name?
Most of the people do it for status.
Okay.
Because, for example, if let's use our president's name.
Yeah.
If
Or maybe you're a Kenyatta, let's say.
you're a
that.
Kenyatta.
Yes, then you're married to Karigo Kenyatta. So you want to change you as a man as Eliud Ngugi to Eliud Ngugi Kenyatta because
Yes.
of the woman you've gotten married to.
Yes, because the name can open doors for you.
Yes.
If you associate yourself with certain names, then your life will be easy. And so we've had people who have actually decided to do that. But also there are people who have taken, maybe they come from families that are very influential, and they do not want to continue being in such status because they just want to live a quiet life.
Okay.
And so when they get married, they actually opt to take their wives' surnames to make sure that they are able to actually, for example, get into some tenders, get into some contracts, because it will be hard for one to trace the person.
Okay, I get that.
And
That
so
makes sense.
So like they're looking into blending in.
yes, they want to blend in, or sometimes they want to actually, for their own advantage, maybe not to be noticeable.
Or multiply their wealth.
Multiply their wealth by not being associated with certain people.
Now, is taking my husband's name or not taking my husband's name, does it have any legal or financial implication on my part? And I want you to be very honest in terms of a legal, because you smiled and you know why you've smiled. I've seen it. I wish the cameras, you've seen why. So I want you to be very honest. For a woman who's listening to this particular show, is taking her husband's name or not taking it something that might cause problems in the future? And more so, whether I am customary married or legally married.
Kwanza, if your husband is a thug.
Really, Karigo.
Can you know?
No, Karigo, you're looking at people, influential people. But
no, this person is not influential.
They are not influential.
They are hard workers. They earn their money. They do what is right. But is it important for me to take it or not? Because in the future, my Nebuchadnezzar could be the next CEO, could be the So does it have any legal or financial implication? And when I say this, I want you to look at it from two angles, because there's also a negative side. He could go bankrupt. Does that mean it will affect me if I took his name or didn't take his name?
Let me take you back to what, because we are talking about marriage.
Yes.
What is the evidential document that one has to use to prove marriage?
Certificate.
And in Kenya, pre the Marriage Act, 2014.
Yes.
By that I mean that the Marriage Act became law.
Yes.
In 2014. Pre 2014, what we used to have were many other laws, like the African Customary Marriage Act, Christian. There were many laws that were
Islamic,
actually there.
The Hindus, everyone.
Yes, and so this one merged the law into one act, which is the Marriage Act.
Yes.
And this Marriage Act brought along a requirement that if for customary marriages, one has to go ahead and make sure that they get a marriage certificate.
So even customary marriage, those people who said, I just give goats this, you need to apply for something. That's what you're telling them.
You need to
today.
actually apply, go on the Sharia House website, the AG website, and actually make your application. Also on your e-citizen, go and actually make your application for the certificate.
What would they ask? If I'm just curious, for someone who's been with their own Nebuchadnezzar for 7 years, 8 years and nothing, it's like, I'll marry you. But he's gone to my people and given something on, they know I am with him. So what is the requirement of that particular certificate or document that you need to fill?
Just the evidence that you actually married traditionally to
Does
this
he have
person.
to be there?
Of course, you have to go to
what is the
Sharia
evidence?
House.
Now my father ate that money. Wakili, my father ate that money and few goats. What's the evidence I need to put on that document? You see, sometimes we're told, attach your ID. Attach what? What evidence am I putting?
You have to go together physically. Like now I go with my Nebuchadnezzar to prove. I can prove just
Remember,
on
he
my
said,
own
he
via
said
the
you
children.
can do it online.
Yeah, but...
So it's a process that starts online.
Okay.
So you make your application, and your application will be required to actually add evidence. And in our case, we use the affidavit to actually prove, because an affidavit is a legal document that you swear before a commissioner for odds. So you will be required to actually swear that affidavit stating that on this particular day, Nebuchadnezzar came over to our place and we had a ceremony and he brought 5 goats.
You have to indicate all that.
Not really. You have to actually just give
a narrative.
A narrative of how you got married to this person. You don't need the proof.
Okay.
Because
women can lie on this document.
You know, that's what I'm thinking right now. Because I'm like, I don't need proof.
Here's the thing.
So I can go and say you're my husband.
You will not go far. Probably on the documentation you will say that we are married.
Yeah.
But upon the presentation of that document, you'll be required to actually book an interview.
Okay.
So go to Sharia house with your Nebuchadnezzar. So he has to be there.
Okay.
And then they'll do the interview, and then they will put a notice.
Yeah.
And they'll present to you a marriage certificate.
Okay, if you just joined the conversation, we are the adults in the room, and today we're talking about the legal implications of taking or not taking your partner's name. So today we've also learned, for those of you who have not done the white wedding, you can still take up those names and make sure you go and legitimize those particular marriages. And I'm telling you, ladies, don't stay in that house with that man without legitimizing that relationship. I'll tell you why I'm going to say that. But before I get to that particular conversation, I've been talking about Johnny Walker Black. What are your thoughts about it, Karigo?
First of all, I want to say that Johnny Walker Black label has a bold taste with a bold flavor. And I'm a bold girl, so this is my kind of drink.
Most definitely.
Yes. Oh, okay. So, Johnny Walker is a blended Scotch whiskey with a rich heritage. And we are celebrating it. And it has an aged minimum of 12 years. And I keep saying the character of Johnny Walker is truly a drink for those who take bold steps. When I think about bold steps, Duchess, I think of your guy, Fred Omanyala. How many bold steps has he taken for us this year?
He's married.
No, in terms of his achievements.
But yes, of course.
That man is on the map. He's a walker. And I just want to say that, Johnny Walker advises you to remember to drink better and not more. And it's not for sale to persons below the age of 18. Do not kindly drink and drive, and remember that excessive consumption of alcohol can be harmful to your health.
I know we're going into a holiday season, so I'm urging you as the other adults, remember the motto for this particular week is drink better and not more.
Spice.
And today your friend is I, the Duchess of Ikolomani, the shy mistress and Wakili, an advocate of the High Court, Mr. Eliud Ngugi. We're having a conversation about the legal implications of taking or not taking your partner's name. Before we went on the break, Eliud, I was asking a question about the people for customary marriage. And I'm sure you looked at me like, where am I going with this? Now, I want to give you a scenario that is happening to some individuals I know. And of ladies, I was talking about the customary. They got hitched to the customary way. And this particular lady, in the process, in the last 13 years, has taken the husband's name. This woman has raised in ranks, raised in her career as being known as Karigo Ngugi, for example. Maybe the husband was the Ngugi. Now, they separated about 2 years back. And now they formally want to make sure they do it, divorce and everything. However, the husband is complaining that you need to drop my name. Like you need to go back to Karigo Gatere and not Karigo Ngugi. This lady does not want to go back to that because she's saying in those 13 years, she grew her career. People know her as Karigo Ngugi. And not just know like the neighbors what. Her career has been built on that. When people are calling her for engagements, her brand, that's like her brand presence. Now this is where the question comes. Can a man, the Ngugi himself, sue Karigo to drop that name? And is it possible that Karigo can win the case in the event they keep that name? Because this is taking or not taking someone's name.
Yes. It goes back to the kind of evidence you have. And
evidence again, and 13 years, and we have 4 children. The
question will be, were you actually married? And so
that's where you go back.
That's where I go back to the laws. And what I meant by that is that pre-2014, we had a presumption of marriage.
Okay.
If you are able to actually prove that people know you as a wife to this person, and you're also able to show that we have actually even cohabited for this period of time.
That was pre.
Yeah, pre-2014.
Was that the one for 6 months?
The Kibaki thing, yeah.
6 months. You will then be able to actually prove a marriage, and the court would actually take you as a husband and wife.
Yes.
And so if your marriage happened before 2014, then we can apply the presumption of marriage.
A pre-2014 system. But if it was after that, then we have to apply the new law.
The new law, which is basically you show us your certificate.
So even if I had Mr. Ngugi's name, I'll have to drop it if it was after 2014 because I have not legitimized my union. No, it's a very genuine question. Think about it. Karigo got married pre-2014. I got married after 2014. The rules are very different when it comes even to the taking of the name and what it will apply to it. So if she was pre-2014, would her name or the Ngugi name be dropped? Is it easily dropped?
It is not easily dropped because these are two separate issues. So, and again, I say about evidence. Am I able to say that we are now divorced or we are divorcing, we are now separated?
Yes, or maybe I have the divorce decree.
You have a decree absolute and you're able to say, okay, now I want you to drop my name. That will be an issue that should be presented before a court of law. And the court of law needs to understand why? You're actually demanding for the dropping of a name because... a right to a name is actually a constitutional right.
But remember, it wasn't yours. If you think about it, yes.
But you got married.
Yes.
So the question is, for
now
example,
we are no longer married.
You are now a brand.
Okay. We've had this question and we differed. That's why we are asking this question. And even our listeners differed on these particular issues. This has been the name that Karigo has grown in the last 15 years. The marriages ended. There's a certificate to it. And the man is like, you're no longer Ngugi. So drop my name.
If I'm the lawyer for this lady who is actually being made to drop the name, because one, it should not be coerced to actually do some of these things. One of the things that I'll be asking is this man who is actually demanding that I drop, the lady drops the name, needs to prove that actually they actually own that name exclusively. Because if it is Ngugi, you need to show me that you've actually trademarked that name. It's actually your name.
It goes that far.
Yes, because there are how many Ngugis are out there? There are so many of them. And so it would be a very hard battle to actually take to court because a name is just a name. Kamau, John, or Ngugi is actually just a name. And so you cannot actually go out there demanding that the person drops that name.
So now what happens if now it's the reverse? We have gotten a divorce and I want to drop the name. What is the process? And now he's saying no. Can he say no? No.
He cannot say no.
Okay, so now I want to drop the name.
Yes. They cannot say no. Actually, in that previous conversation, I wanted to give you an example.
Okay, please do.
Of a case that took place in Kenya a while ago. Our only Nobel Peace winner, Wangari Maathai professor, went to court. This is actually in the public domain. Went to be divorced, and Mr. Maathai tried making her drop, or rather getting an order to get her to drop her name, Maathai, and we failed. And that's why to date we know her as Professor Wangari Maathai. And so a name is just a name. And so if you want to drop a name after you've divorced your partner, you are free to do it.
The same process.
It's the same process whereby you need to swear a deed poll, get a friend to swear an affidavit, get the deed poll registered. Once registered, then file a notice, a gazette notice, which will be published in the Kenya Gazette. And then your name will be effectively changed.
Wow.
If you join the conversation, we had the adults in the room. These issues of names, is a conversation many of us have tried to avoid. But if you're dating, or you've ever dated, or you're dating for marriage, I think it's high time you had these conversations. Are you taking his name or not? Or is he taking your name or not? Also, as we get into the conversation, I want to ask Wakili, this matters of us having our children named after our spouses. Should the names be the same as yours? I want you to opine on the conversation through our social media handles, SpiceFM KE on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. If you have a question, I see some of them. We shall be sampling them. And of course, feel free to call in on 0719 012 600, and the WhatsApp line is 01102 88162. Remember, when it comes to changing of names, are you one of them who hyphenates that particular name, or you take your husband's name, or are you one of those independent women that Karigo who said, why should I? Lakini but why?
Spice.
This is Spice FM. The show is The Adults in the Room. It's exactly 9 o'clock, and we are asking a question that some of you had thrown into us. You've been asking on our Ask the Adults, and today we said, let us have someone who has more knowledge to it. What are the legal implications of taking or not taking your partner's name? Opine on this conversation through our social media handles, SpiceFM KE on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. You could also call in on 0719 012 600, or send in your question if you want to stay anonymous on our WhatsApp line 01102 88162. Now, Wakili, there has been a question of controversy in certain circles where many of us ask, if I have not taken, today you're going to be the specimen, Mr. Ngugi, don't worry. Forgive us. You and Nebuchadnezzar have joined the team. Yes. There's been a question where I am married to a Mr. Ngugi. I've given birth to Nebuchadnezzar and Karigo. I have not taken my husband's name, but on my children's birth certificate, there's Karigo Ngugi, Nebuchadnezzar Ngugi. In the event, unfortunately, of my partner's death, and we're talking about family inheritance, will that affect me? Is that a plus or a minus or a disadvantage to me? And also on the same, is it recommended that or is it important that your children carry your their father's surname? Because of late, some people are like, we are independent, let our children have interesting names. Karigo Spice, Nebuchadnezzar Vibes, those are the names. But other people, and we see this, even women who have had illegitimate relationships are always fighting to have this man's name on the birth certificate. How important is it for our children, or for someone's children, to carry those names?
It's called the Birth and Death Act, Registration of Birth and Death Act, which provides that a child should actually have a name of a father.
Okay, it's important.
It is important. Okay. And also under the Children's Act, a child has a right to the name of the father. And so we had
but these days birth certificates don't give that.
You remember?
There was a case that was actually in court that actually declared that every child has a right to the father's name, and so you cannot remove that.
Is that why the businessman, the 75-year-old businessman, doesn't want his 21-year-old child?
Let me pick this call, then you can answer
on the birth certificate? Is that why? Because
Karigo, really?
No, for real, is that why? Because he's very persistent. You know what he's done, and you know what he's done is illegal.
I know.
It's illegal. There's no law
like
there's
that.
No illegal. There's nothing illegal about that.
There's no law in Kenya that has allowed him to do what he's done. So no. Say the truth, boy.
Let me give it in practicality, and I'm going to use a case study of my daughter's birth certificate. When I applied for it's called the birth notice in hospital, I think it was the second or third day they gave me, I wrote the names, the first two names, and of course they asked me the name of the father. We filled and they give the copies. The hospital always asks. I don't know about other people, but we attached my what is it called, my ID and his ID, and it went. After about 3-4 weeks, the birth certificate came back. When it came back, it had the girl's two names, but it did not have the father's name. And then I was like, my birth certificate, like I am old school, my birth certificate has my two names and my father's last name. And when I asked, I was asking around, people were like, times have changed. It depends with who is seated on that desk. For real. And I don't know, no, that's the reason I'm asking you is because I'm very shocked when you said that. And even when I was applying for the passport, and I renewed it recently, I was looking at my sister's daughter's birth certificate because we went together. Her daughter, one has 3 names, one has 2 names, but of course the father's names are there. So when we're talking about, that's why I'm asking, is it that important that when they write Karigo Gatere Ngugi? Or is Karigo Gatere enough because Ngugi's name is here and the mother's name is here?
The name of the father, according to that judgment that I was referring to.
It's a new judgment?
Yeah, it's a new judgment, but not as new. Probably goes back to around 5 years. It says that it is illegal to actually remove the name of the father from the birth certificate.
Okay.
And so a child should have the name of both the mother and the father.
Okay.
And so you cannot have the X's or the dot in terms of having a birth certificate that only has Barbara's name.
Or when they write, they ask for the
name is missing as a father.
So when they ask the father's name, you can't have XX.
Yes.
Because there's a time they would allow that.
There was a time they would allow that.
Yes.
But on the additional bit, it just depends with who is actually doing that registration.
Yes, yeah.
Because some people, it will just show the 2 names and not
because they're like, you can pick whichever.
Yes.
Yeah, because some parents have either like 2 names.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. So that is just an omission. But
Yes.
when it comes to issues of naming, do you feel, in your opinion, as a legal officer of the court, that it is important that as we're giving birth to my Nebuchadnezzar and my Karigo, should I attach to those names in case of anything or any misfortune? Is it important for my children to carry their father's name?
It is important because, one, you are actually making, or rather showing who they are here to.
Okay.
Who are they inheriting?
Okay.
And so once you indicate that, when it comes to when it comes to succession at the end of or during that process, one of the things that is required is a letter from the chief.
Okay.
And the letter from the chief will actually include the name of the children of the person who has passed on. And so if the names are actually likely to suggest that they are similar to the person who passed on, it becomes an easy case to prove.
Or like a seamless.
Yeah, it is easy to actually just say, oh, we see the Ngugi. So it's so easy to actually just conclude that without going ahead to demand for the birth certificates that should be able to also include the name of the father if that's the person who has died, or the mother.
Okay.
And so it's important to actually just have the names.
Say, for example, my husband has died, or we've gotten a divorce, and I have now gotten the opportunity to remarry. And I do not want to change his name. And I want to carry on my partner's next name.
The new one.
Yes. So, for example, my name is Wagari Gatere, and I was married to Wagari Gatere Ngugi. So I took Ngugi. Then now I meet Masharia. God forbid. So I
proceed.
So now I am Wagari Gatere Ngugi Masharia. Can I keep all those names?
You can keep the names. You have a right to a name.
As you said, it's not a trademark.
Yes.
What if my new partner wants to protest?
As who?
Well, that's
the new partner. And me, I'm like, no. You know, like in honor of my, let's say it's the late.
I was having a conversation with a friend of mine, and for them, they divorced and they retained the name.
Yes.
Okay.
And so we were just saying, people keep asking me, who is this on this? But you see, it's a choice you actually make to actually keep the name.
Yeah.
And no one should coerce you to actually remove the name.
So it's legal.
It is legal actually. Yeah.
If you've gone through the process that he was talking about.
Yeah.
But again, this is why from our conversation today, implication, I think you should reconsider taking your partner's name, because you don't know what the eventualities that may take place.
Yes.
And so to avoid this back and forth, that you keep on coming to me as an advocate asking that I help you, we are no longer together, please let's do another deed poll, to avoid all this. And again, Barbara said that after you have changed your name, you need to proceed and change all your other documents. It is important to just, for the peace of mind, just keep actual names. Just keep your current names, because in case of all these changes, you keep coming for these affidavits, because whenever maybe you're traveling or applying for a passport, they keep asking, okay, we do not recognize who is Barbara Ngugi and who is Barbara Macharia. So please get an affidavit, and you keep on carrying documents. Sometimes it's important to just keep the names, because again, when it comes to properties, let's say you have a title deed, you have some apartments, you have a car, and all these names keep on differing. What will happen to actually the proving of these properties as your property?
So it takes quite a lot.
Take a lot.
Let's talk about those ones who don't want to change their name formally, and they decide to hyphenate it. Is hyphenation a flowery term to just massage your partner's ego, or to make sure his interests are in check, or is it something that is legally noted by the government? Like I do Barbara Mbaka Imbahala -Ngugi. Is that just a flowery thing that people lie to themselves and put on emails, or they want to be called, or is it recognized by the law?
If you followed the right procedure, which is swearing of a deed poll under the Registration of Documents Act, and you've gotten it gazetted, have a hyphened name, then it will
move as hyphened.
It will move as hyphen, and you'll be known as a person with a hyphen.
Okay.
So there's nothing
but
wrong
if I
with
haven't, and I'm just gallivanting,
if you're just adding it on email,
Mrs. Barbara Nebukadnezar and hyphen, I put Barbara back hyphen, but I've never done a deed poll. I've not made any changes. But you all know I'm married to this guy, so that has no any legal implication or any in case of anything. It doesn't really matter.
It doesn't matter.
The thing that I wonder the most is this. Say, for example, I was married to this guy and I didn't change his name. So I was married to Ngugi. I didn't change his name.
Your name? You didn't change your name?
No, I didn't change.
Change to his name?
I changed to his name, sorry.
Yes.
But then now he died. Kitambo. And I've not remarried, and that's still the name that's standing. Then there was something that he had done, and he had broken the law, and now it has caught up. And now it has caught up, and now I have been traced the way they do the tracings. I don't know whether it happens in our country, but the way they do the tracings, and now you found me.
Mrs. Ngugi.
Mrs. Ngugi. What happens next?
Are you still married to this person?
He's dead.
He's dead. They had done well. If you die with your
Wait,
seeds.
first and foremost, they are dead.
So the marriage is over?
The marriage is over.
Yeah, he's dead.
It's been whatever terminated by death, but also, for example, whatever happened to this witness at ICC the other day, Mr. Gashero.
Yes, the lawyer.
Yes.
Yeah.
That terminated the case at ICC, and so there will be no one coming after you. The only people who will be coming after you are probably people who are owed money and property. Maybe if you went and conned somebody and got some land, those are the people who will come to you. But if they come to you, then the other question will be, are you the administrator, the personal administrator of this person's estate? And so it has. We need to. There's a deeper detail other than just having a name. There's a deeper detail whereby we need to find out: are you the person empowered or who has been given authority to manage the assets of this person? Because if you are that person, then they have every right to come after you and demand that you actually make their payments or answer to some of the properties or some of the money that has not been paid.
Talking about that, just before we go on the break, you were talking about if I have this man's name or my partner's name, and now he's not dead, but maybe he gets into some financial trouble, and would his financial trouble affect me, given that I have a name or we share the same name, our name match, and we are spouses?
If you're spouses and your partner gets into some financial trouble,
yes,
one of the things we'll be asking for is whether you are aware about the financial troubles.
Okay.
So an example of a financial trouble is, let's say you had the man had taken a mortgage.
Yes.
And this mortgage has not been paid up. The question will be, as a spouse, were you notified and did you sign off some of the guarantee documents to say that actually I am going to guarantee the payment of the money, because if you had not, then there is no legal implication on you as a person.
Okay.
You again as a spouse through.
If I'd actually guaranteed him on the mortgage, then I have a legal implication.
Yes.
But if I hadn't, there's no legal implication. So can we lose the house, or can I be part of that penalty, or will it affect me directly, given that we have matching names?
The names are, again, we don't affect the issue to do with implication, financial implication. What will be required is, if you are a spouse, you needed to sign a spousal consent. You needed to consent to the taking of, for example, the mortgage.
Okay.
And so if you were not involved in this process, then you are able to even support the man and stop the any further demands
or repossession
of his property, because then procedurally and legally you're supposed to consent to this to
the sale of the house, to a mortgage, or any
taking
property
of the money from the bank.
And
so it's a matter of, were you aware? And so if you were aware, again, they will not repossess until they notify you as a wife.
But if you are not aware,
yes,
they're in trouble, because you can stop that process.
You stop that whole process.
And
so it's more of the legal documentation other than the name. But probably the name will help in maybe getting to see, you're saying you're the wife. What proof do you have? So the proof, remember again, we said it's a marriage certificate, but also the name being similar probably may add maybe 10% or 20%.
If you join the conversation, we are the adults in the room, and we're asking about the legal implications of taking or not taking your partner's name. Have you ever thought about taking his name, or have you ever thought about taking her name? What say you? Or are you one of those who will hyphenate, like someone I know in this room?
Spice.
5 minutes past 9 o'clock, and we've been talking about whether to take his name or not. But before we get there, we are going into a holiday, and some of you are drinkers and enjoyers of Black Label, the Johnny Walker Black Label. Many of us know this phrase. We say, keep walking. And keep walking is the heart of Johnny Walker. It means to take bold steps that make life richer, and you inspire everyone. Who is a walker in your life? Are you a walker? To me, as the Duchess of Ikolomani, a walker is someone who takes bold steps, has a bold character, a person who is a change maker, a trailblazer. Karigo reminded us in a previous link that we have our Omanyala, Ferdinand Omanyala. He is indeed a trailblazer. I also want to remember all the sportsmen and the women, and I believe they're trailblazers in our society. When we all in our own lives, if we really think about it, I think you've given bold steps. I think you're a walker in your own way. And because you're a walker in your own way, have you ever thought about enjoying Johnny Walker Black? I'd like you to opine on the conversation as we speak and as we contribute in each and everything we talk about. Today is Wednesday. So ladies, gentlemen, nominate that particular walker, and you never know, by the end of the week I might be giving something to that particular walker. Johnny Walker is made for those people who have bold steps and have bold characters. As you indulge in this particular drink, and as you get into the mini weekend Mashuja Day, I'd like to remind you, remember to drink better and not more. Excessive consumption of alcohol can be harmful for your health. This particular drink is not for sale for persons below the age of 18. And remember, please do not drink and drive. If you're new to this conversation, we've been talking to an advocate of the High Court, and the conversation today has been taking the partner's name or not taking your partner's name. What say you? 0719-012-600 is the number to call. SpiceFM KE on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. I see we have comments on our WhatsApp, 01102888162.
You know, this is a question that most people usually have, whereby my daughter's birth certificate has XXXX Palekwa father's name and only has my names. What are the implications of this?
As Wakili is smiling and trying to be very modest how he'll answer this question, I'll ask you, when you were applying for this, did you include the father's name? Please respond to that. Yes?
Well,
some
the father
don't like adding, maybe they had Kosanad at that time.
So now that's your problem. I'm
Then
sorry to say
now
that. That is why you have
Meridiana.
XSX.
There's nothing wrong with it being XXX right now, but the question then would be, in case the father came into the picture, what will happen is that he can easily get his name.
So she can
added.
actually change.
The father has to actually get a court order and get his name added.
A court order again?
Yes.
Hey? Okay.
Wait, why? But he's the biological father.
But why wasn't it included? It means there was something.
There were domains.
There was something, and so just adding, for example, that act I referred to,
Yes.
the Birth and Deaths Registration Act, requires that a name of a child cannot be changed after they turn 2 years of age. And so, if a child is already above 2 years, maybe 4 or 5 years of age, and the birth certificate just says XXX,
Yes.
and they need to change by adding the name of the father or adding the name of, basically adding the name of the father on the birth certificate.
Yeah.
That would require a process
Okay.
of either getting to swear a deed poll on behalf of the child because the child is under the age of 18,
Yes.
or even the child is actually under the age of 2 years. Then they can easily change the name on that birth certificate. They'll just make a request.
So under the age
registrar.
of 2 years, you can actually change the birth certificate by making a request.
Yes.
But above the age of 2 years, now that's where we go back to the deed poll.
You have to go back to the deed poll.
Okay, what you were talking about, change of name, the same way that I would want to do if I'm changing into my spouse's name.
Yes, but now if the father is out of the picture,
Yes.
and he discovers that the name is not there,
Yes.
then the father has to actually now go to court for that
Okay.
court order. So we just have to weigh the options and see if they want to add the name. Are they in good terms? If they are not in good terms, then the father, because also I can speak on behalf of men, he can be able to actually enforce and get the changes on the birth certificate by getting a court order.
But I'll encourage ladies, when you're giving birth, this is a thing that you feel in the person's name, whether they want it or not, but it's for the sake of your child. In the end, this person does not need to be present. Just feel him, right? Eliud,
How does
Ngugi.
it benefit the child in the long run?
What do you mean, how
In
does it
terms of- what I mean, like, what would you say is, okay, Osawa, you're not with this guy, but why would you advise a mother to put in the dad's name? Like, for real?
Article 53 of the Constitution
Yes.
provides that a child has a right to be taken care of by both the father and
Yes.
the mother. And this right, when we go to the Children's Act, it provides that a child has a right to a name. And so, because the child has this right to have both father and mother, then that's where the name being added is actually comes in, and it's important because again the child may ask you some questions later.
And again, people are busy asking for child support. Child support for what? When that part is written XXX. You're getting. And I would say this. I know people have go through different reasons, or they've gone through separations, disputes. Please just put that name, whether you're in good terms or not. Have you ever tried filling a passport? Registration, and they ask you those questions. Father's name,
even when guys were taking
available or
Huduma
not number.
number.
Yes, leave even.
That was
But
the
your child
paramount
needs to move. Your child needs to move to the NEMIS system. They're changing the system of education. There are certain things that are asked. You don't want your child to be there and being asked certain questions and you can't answer. It doesn't matter if you have separated or not. I know some people are thinking, power to the women, or he did this, I don't want anything. But it's not about you. Remember when you're having that conversation? It's about that particular child. Think about the future of that particular child.
And
because if you say they're dead, when you're applying a passport, you'll be asked for a death certificate.
And that's a big
That's
deal.
another story altogether.
You know, I'm thinking about this lady who was in the news recently for In the Search of Her Dad. And, you know, she's been featured. And, you know, thankfully the journey has ended up with her getting to know her father. But in such a case whereby somebody has been born and the birth certificate doesn't have the father, and you genuinely want to have your father on your birth certificate, how do you go about this?
Does she know the father?
Do we know the father?
She has an idea. This is like an adult child, 40 plus.
That's not a child.
It's an adult child. They're still a child to their parent.
Well,
we're not saying it's a toddler, but it's an adult child. And then,
but what proves that that's the father? Unless they do a DNA test.
And what I'm asking is, once DNA test has been done, that's fine. Can this happen at an old age? Have your name and your father's name on your birth certificate, because that's what you want.
I've not come across such a case.
Those are the issues now.
Yeah, that's a new issue. I will ask that person to come see me. So
because it's a real thing whereby you've been in search of your parent, long lost, now you found them. Can I have them on my birth certificate?
What is disturbing you with it at your 40? I'm assuming, I just out of curiosity.
It's not about disturbing. It's about just the whole aspect of this is what you want.
Okay.
I think if we use the law, which probably provides that both you have a right to both parents being involved in your life, and that new judgment that came from court that says that it's the name of the father should actually be in the birth certificate, then the person should be able to could actually coerce and get a court order to have a name added.
Even at that old age?
At that old age.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be quite interesting.
I know.
Maybe the dad is rich, that's why. I don't know.
Hello, Spice. I have a query. What happens if a child got out of wedlock and the child has his dad's name? Who was then my boyfriend? But we never got married. So I now get married to a different guy. Should the child drop his biological father's name and start using that of his stepdad, or what should happen? Putting in mind that the biological dad has been supportive and the child knows him. That is, we co-parent.
Ooh, that's...
Just let your child keep the father's name. But that's just the Duchess saying.
What the law is clear that every child has a right to a name and being taken care of by their biological parents.
Yes.
And so the listener trying to change the name of removing the name of a father who has actually been supportive, then that would be an illegality.
Yeah, and the man can fight it.
The man can actually fight it if they learn about it, and so it's something I would advise the person not to actually do.
And even you, if you've decided to hook up with a lady who has a child, please don't ask for such requests. I think it's very unfair on the part of this new partner. I don't know if they are the one requesting, but I've had such cases. I don't think it's okay. Allow that child to have that particular, that's his or her heritage from the father. Next question.
I have an issue to do with my children's certificates. They did not include my name, that is the father's name, despite that I had provided my name that was in my ID. Now I can't include them to the NHIF card. Please advise.
That was a problem of the mother, and I'm sure she did not tell you, but let me just give you a news flash. Mr. Man, you are Mrs., you are mother, the mother of these children. No, but it is true. Who feels... Wakili, am I lying?
You're lying.
I'm not.
So she's lying?
No.
She's over here playing lawyer.
No. For real, Karigo, who signs the birth notification?
No, let Wakili respond, because he's the resident lawyer.
Women can do things in this town.
He's the resident lawyer.
If the listener wants to add the name of the children on the NHIF
No,
card,
he starts by saying his name is not on the birth certificate. His children, not children. Yet he submitted it. What causes that? Who has the final notification? Don't smile. I wish the cameras could go to him. You know what I'm talking about. And be honest.
Is it illegal, first of all, what was happened to him?
What happened
Women
to him
do
was
that.
actually illegal.
Yes.
Because, again...
Illegal.
It was illegal.
So she can be fined?
Not fined,
Not
but
fined,
the father can actually get that amended or changed. And
can
the
he
question
use that
would
as
be,
grounds for custody?
No, they're together.
They're together. He did not say. There are women who do that. I've seen that.
That's crazy.
That after they give birth, you as the father or the husband think that the names are there or your name is there. But along the way, when you come to see the birth certificate, you find that your name is not there. And then they'll tell you, no, these people didn't put it. Usually, I have asked this question, someone in births, registrations and death, and they're like, that can't happen. Because it's a requirement, as he's saying, by law, the name of the father and the mother should be there. But if it's not there, they will move forward. So it means along the process, someone omitted it. Do you really think that was done in that office, if we're honest?
What happens?
So he can easily. So if your children are under the age of 2, he can easily change.
They are not.
If they are above, what the Act provides for is that he can add. So, for example, the children already have 3 names.
Yeah.
He can easily add a 4th name or 5th name, but he cannot remove. And so, in this case, because maybe he does not want to just add, he may want to basically just change all the names to just include his name as a father.
Yeah.
Then it will be advisable that he gets swears a deed poll, and that will be effected, because with a gazette notice, then he's able to present the gazette notice and this to the registrar of births, and the registrar of births will be able to actually amend the birth certificate and include the father's names.
Wow.
Dear men, as you ladies give birth, please be present. Please be aware about birth notification. Utadanganywa jamani. What is Githinji asking?
It says, hi adults, what if someone wants or has a will of dropping his or her English name?
Okay, now we are from partner's name to English names. Please address that.
Someone wants to drop their birth certificate.
She wants to be Wangare Gatere and drop Cecilia.
It is doable. That's why we have a Registration of Documents Act, and same process. So I did poll, get a friend who has known you for a long period of time, get the documents registered, and go for gazettement of that new name. And using that gazette notice, then you present it to the registrar of names.
Yeah.
And then get your ID changed. It will cancel out your name, because it will be saying the person formerly known as Cecilia Wangari Gatere is now known as Wangari Gatere. So once you present, it's such an authoritative document, because it's from one government of Kenya, now notifying the whole nation that this person's name has fully changed.
Yeah.
And so all these other NHIF and NSSF ID, these registrars have no option but to actually comply with that government declaration that your name is now different. And so once you present the gazette notice, your name will actually be struck out. You'll be issued with new documents. You'll be able to go to the and get a new passport in a different name, and so everyone else will know you as that African man without an English name.
I'm thinking of a situation whereby, what are the options of surnames to add? Can we both have both surnames? Is it something that we can do? Like, I say now we add Gatere and Githinji together.
That's what he's saying about African names.
No, I'm saying, like, can both surnames of both partners be on the legal document, or just one?
They can. You can choose to actually add as many names as you wish.
So there's no limit.
There's no limit. You could actually just even add. There's no limit as to names. You can actually have 5, 7 names. I've actually met people with quite a number of names, long names.
Like Akon has very many names.
Very many names.
Yes.
And it doesn't come with any legal implications.
There's no implication. The only issue is that you may not have enough space on the documents. So you have to let go of those names.
Do you think the change of name, especially by a partner, can be used in the case of where I want to be the power of attorney or take charge of certain things? Case in point, for example, I've been married to a Nebuchadnezzar. Then along the way, I realized that he's terminally ill and I'd never changed my name. I changed my name to add his name so that to take care about his estate. Is that something that will be challenged or can be challenged by his relatives? So that we avoid, because you said it has its advantages. So I'm looking at he's terminally ill. And going forward, I had never taken his name, but we've been married all these years. We have children, meaning there's proof. There's proof of marriage. There's proof of everything, but I've never taken his name. But given that now he's terminally ill, would it be okay if I changed my name to be the person in charge of his estate during his illness, or would that be taken as taking advantage?
Again, name and documents are totally different things.
Okay.
And so, if you want to take care of...
But remember, I've changed and I'll change documents.
you've changed.
So I have to change the name and change all the documents.
You have to change
Everything.
all the documents that are actually important to you. Because if you have changed the name
and
to
what
now
about
become a Nebuchadnezzar,
yes,
you will need to now, if you had actually gotten a power of attorney to take care of this terminally ill person,
yes,
you will need to now go back and amend that power of attorney, which is, again, a process.
Why would it be a process? And I'm talking about this because there is a family, I was asking on behalf, there is a family who have someone in hospital who has been terminally ill. And in the process, because this gentleman has seen the way his sickness is deteriorating in the last 1 year and has decided to give power of attorney to the wife, and the wife decided to change the name. Now, when the family found out as the process, remember when you said about gazetting it, they found out and they actually filed an injunction for it because they feel that she might be taking advantage in terms of family inheritance, given that they're not so sure about the person's health. Now, in such a case, they already have proof that they have been married for several years, their children, everyone knows they stay together. But why would that be a challenge in terms of documentation? Because you said someone can get a power of attorney and I'm the one now in charge, because he is not able to deliver or to do the duties and responsibilities that he was initially doing as Nebuchadnezzar, my spouse, father to my children, and director to his business. So why would I need now to go across and change all this documentation, yet I am acting on behalf of?
Because a name gives you an identity. So if your identity has already been changed, you are a totally different person from the person who is married to this person, or who has been given the power of attorney. And therefore, it will be important to complete the process. Go and complete the process and get the power of attorney amended.
What if I don't? Would it be advisable I don't change my name, but we just continue the process of power of attorney, so that we don't need to do all these other things? Or still, that will bring issues in terms of family inheritance.
It will be take the shortest route.
Okay.
So if the shortest route for you is to actually just get the power of attorney as Barbara,
yes,
Mbaka at this point, then get your power of attorney and proceed and take care of this person. Because if you proceed with the other option of changing the name, it's a longer process, which will mean that you have to come back here. And if there was a power of attorney issued to you, you still have, because a power of attorney is a document that has to be registered. You may have to come back and amend it afresh. But again, we have some shortcuts which are given by affidavits. If you basically go to an advocate and you swear an affidavit saying that you're still the one and the same person, your identity has not changed, you're still the same and the one person who was formerly known as so and so, but you have also changed your name. And also when you're in primary school, you're also known as someone else. If you get an affidavit that is able to merge this to prove that you're actually one and the same person, there are some institutions like I know some banks are willing to actually take the affidavit and proceed and actually transact. And the other institutions that are actually going to demand that an affidavit can actually be from some streets, and you may have you may be lying to and so they may demand to actually get that gazette notice that actually proves that you actually changed your name.
There's something that you've said that I've caught up on. You said sometimes it's a tedious process. And I've had people who've tried to change their names. I've never changed my names, and I don't think I'll ever change. Whether I get married now, tomorrow, I'm one of those who will not change my name. But in your honest opinion, as an officer of the court, do you believe that this is a tedious process and someone should just keep their name? Or is it a tedious process and it's worth the while?
It is not tedious. A name change can take between 2 to 1 month, 2 weeks to 1 month. And so that whole process of changing the name is not tedious if you're actually getting help by a professional. If you're doing it yourself because you may not know where and who does what, then it may become such a long process that may take you months. And so if you're going to a professional, proceed and do it. We've had some of our politicians who have actually changed their names. The former governor of Nairobi, Sonko, changed his
that one
name,
has changed.
and that became his official name.
Yeah.
And so you
Because
can
it was not called
imagine-
Sonko. Yes.
You can imagine the daughter, the wife also may want to
Or
actually
the,
also.
or
add
the whole
the
family
names.
wants to be Sonko.
They may want to
Oh, yeah,
relate to
okay.
that.
Because it's a brand name.
It's a
or-
brand name, or
Okay.
Wamatangi.
Yeah, okay.
So these were names which were not are not on their IDs.
Okay.
True.
But because they are known by such names, they
Even
went
like
ahead and changed them.
Keroshe, like
Yes.
her, she added that to her name. It wasn't
Y-
there.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they actually went ahead and did
Wow.
that process, and probably
How long
if
does it take?
He said a month.
a month?
Or if you're using
2
the
months.
legal process, like you have a lawyer, I have my Eliud, he's gonna sort for me in a month, I'll be sorted.
You'll be sorted. You'll be sorted.
Okay.
Yeah. So it just depends with how and why you're doing this. And the question is why are you changing your name?
Okay.
Are you a brand?
Somebody on Twitter is
A moment,
asking-
just before you go, somebody on Twitter. There's a brand that I need you to hear about.
yeah.
There is a brand that we need to talk about, and the brand is a Johnny Walker Black.
Keep Walking is the heart of Johnny Walker, and you know it means taking bold steps that make life richer and inspire others. Who is a walker? I'm gonna tell you who is a walker for me, Duchess.
Who's a walker?
Eliud Kipchoge. He's a runner, but he's a walker. You know, he's a change maker and he's a trailblazer. I'll be honest with you, anytime I feel like giving up, me just remember Eliud Kipchoge. You know, you keep fighting, you keep doing the win. And I want you, the listener, to call us and tell us what makes you a walker, or nominate a walker who has been a change maker. Johnny Walker is made for those who take bold steps. Responsible drinking is, remember to drink better and not more. And this is not to sell to persons over the age of 18. Listen, as you enjoy your Johnny Walker, remember, don't drink and drive, because excessive consumption of alcohol can be harmful to your health.
Spice.
Joining in this is SpiceFM. The show is The Adult in the Room. And today we're talking about taking his name or not taking his name, and what could be the legal implication. I'd like you to opine on the conversation through the social media handles SpiceFM KE on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. As the Duchess of Ikolomani, hata ukinipenda jamani, I will not take your name, but I'll love to take your money. But for the shy mistress, she says it depends from which family you're from.
Yeah.
Then she'll decide to take your name. For me, the Duchess is enough. I can hyphenate it for the flowery part, but I ain't changing my names. Bwana Wakili can do another job, but change of name, not for me. What were you asking the question from Twitter? I'm being honest, me, I'm not changing my name. That's a hassle. What if we separate? Then I start doing again that thing. No.
But see, you said it's not expensive.
Even if it's not expensive, but then I love my name. And each of my
Mbaka.
name. Barbara means a beautiful stranger. Mbaka.
Ati a beautiful stranger.
Go and Google what's wrong with you. Huh? You don't know what your name means? I'm a beautiful stranger. Mbaka.
I'll never forget that. You're a stranger and you're beautiful.
Beautiful,
Continue.
Beautiful stranger. And Mbaka is a very strong woman. It's a name. In fact, it's pronounced the real one. It's called Kabalekanga Mbaka.
Oh my God.
That's her name. The other one I don't choose. And if you use it next week, Nitawaruka.
Which is?
See, I've told you the part you didn't get it. Kabalekanga Mbaka. That's actually my Lunje name.
Wow.
Yes.
I'm looking for a comment from Twitter and I don't know where it has disappeared to, but somebody was asking, how do you change names on the birth certificate?
I think he's answered that.
You've answered that?
Yes.
Yes.
You've answered.
Yeah,
Ama, you want
questions
to
to
give a
do with-
refresher? Yeah.
Questions to do with are you a child? Is it a name of a child? Then it will be different. If a child is under the age of 2, you can easily change or remove.
Yeah.
You can add or remove the name. If it's an adult, then you have to swear a deed poll.
I need us to answer this question
Yeah.
before we leave this conversation.
This one
Please
from
read it.
WhatsApp.
Yes, yeah, please read that.
It's
We need
very
to-
sensitive.
Yeah, so that's why I've said we have to answer that as we end this conversation.
In case of where a child was conceived from rape, thus the father is unknown, how will that affect the absence of the father's name on the birth certificate? That's heavy.
Yeah, it is heavy. Of course, there are such situations whereby the father is unknown.
Yes.
And so the name will be left blank because we don't know. So it's okay.
In such a situation, can someone put someone else's name? Is that allowed? Like maybe you put your father's name or grandfather's name, or it would look like it's a case of incest, something, or someone you respect. Is such things allowed, or it really has to be the biological father?
Has to be the biological father.
Okay.
That's what the law provides for. You cannot add a friend and make them a father.
Putative father, as I read the other day.
Yesterday, not the other day. What's that, by the way?
This is actually new.
What's
it's
that?
very new that you can actually have a power of attorney with.
It's a statement of had in the US and the UK law, but not the Kenyan law.
No.
But please tell our listener, what's a putative father?
It's very new. It's very new. And so we are waiting to see. We cannot comment on cases which are in court.
Oh yeah, you can't do that. It's not allowed.
But what is it?
Karigo, aren't you paying attention in this class? He cannot comment on a case that is in court. Actually,
but
for
what
him,
is a putative father?
We cannot comment.
Oh, so you still can't comment?
because the case is in court.
Oh, my lawyers. Today I said I fear lawyers because wanakuanga na kizungu mingi sana.
No. But you know that is a rule not only for them, but even for the public.
Yeah.
That's why sometimes you see when we're having conversation, we'd say it's alleged. It is clean.
It is alleged.
Or most of the time I like saying from the corridors of justice.
Yeah.
Now, if you've been listening to the conversation, I see some people have asked, how can we get in touch with Mr. Eliud Ngugi? Wakili, if someone needs to get in touch with you on a private matter, how can they reach you?
Wakili Ngugi on Twitter, or you can easily just Google my name, Eliud Ngugi.
What do you say?
I'm telling you. Google. Just Google.
Just Google. It will give you the contacts that need to reach you.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Eliud, for coming. I've learned a lot. Like now I know what I need to know before I take up that man's name. So I can actually keep my name and take his. It's okay. It's fine.
It is okay.
And he won't feel something.
No.
If he catches feelings, I'll be like, Eliud said.
Really?
It is okay.
But also, it is okay for you to take his name.
Yes.
And keep Gatere.
No.
My father doesn't have sons. I want to keep that name.
But you're not a son, you're a daughter.
Yeah, but I can be the one who lives, and you were talking about generation wealth, new one.
Conversation of another day. Thank you for everyone who plugged into the show. As we say in Swahili, tunasema asante sana. And in Luya, we say Sandi Tanga. Thank you to our silent listeners. Thank you for those who opined on the conversation. Tomorrow is another day. And as we end this conversation, I would like to celebrate you as our Shujas for always plugging in. Good night and God bless you.
Spice.